Yeah, you wanna put that dish in your mouth.
Wish you could slide into my mind and make me mine. Push play rewind. Let's whip outside, and so am I.
Good afternoon. I had to check. Everyone, I'm Dylan B. Dickerson White. I'm your Mr. Trans USA 2022, and I'm here with our Mr. Trans Iowa 2023 to do our pre-sashing interview. And we're just going to have him come in right now and tell us a little bit about himself and why he's been interested in running for Trans USA.
Hi, my name is Rory Phoenix Monroe. I am. Sorry.
It's okay. I can totally also edit it so that whenever you start, we can use that. So don't worry.
I'm choosing to run for Mr. Trans US of A to kind of be somebody for other people that I've wanted growing up, to like be that kind of inspiration and help as many people as I possibly can. And like, that's just kind of how I was raised. And I just want to continue to do that going forward as best as I can.
That's like kind of like why I think we all like sort of got really excited about this, because I mean, I know that from on my end, I have been performing for a long time and I had been doing that before. It's kind of how I started doing stuff in the community. So I know you had been, from what I've seen on your pictures, you're also a performer.
Yes, I am. I've been doing it for almost 3 years this January.
So that must be interesting, having started around the COVID
yes.
era. So how did that go just starting?
It was definitely a challenge, and yeah.
I don't think we really like. I think we were all there with the virtual drag in the bathroom kind of thing sometimes.
Yeah. When stuff like the bars had to close down for that short period of time, there's the local bar here in Cedar Rapids. I knew some of the performers that went and did open stage. So I reached out to all of them and I was like, hey, I have space in my living room. Why don't you come and we'll do it virtually and we can help raise money for Basics, because they have to close down. They still have to somehow, make some type of money. So we did the best we could. We got them to.
No worries. The issues of technology today. There we go. Okay. It happens.
Sorry.
Okay.
But yeah, we did get their online stuff, like for PayPal and stuff, and put it in the live so that people can just donate directly to them, or we'll collect it and then send it to them later. So that's kind of more or less what we do.
Living room, like that's the best part of it. I've seen some of the best living room drag shows, and then some that, like, if you did this in my living room, it's the tiniest little space. So I think, I think I did see one where somebody was dropping up and down behind a couch or something. I don't know. I had fun during that, but I'm glad we're kind of transitioning back to some normal shows, right? But that's kind of another important point too, with like raising money for the community. We always find our creative ways to do it, even if we're not able to do it in the traditional sense of raising money at a show. So I think that it's kind of interesting. You're talking about the work you've done, for places in Iowa. I don't know why I said that. And it's something I wanted to ask. I don't really know a lot about Iowa, I will tell you. Okay. What's it like being trans in Iowa?
At first it was like but was very difficult. Because like obviously I moved to Iowa about 4-ish years ago. And when I started transitioning, it was clear that you knew or thought you knew I was, a female. But unfortunately, like, no, I am transitioning. And just like, it was the looks I got, the comments that I can hear, and it just was very, very awkward, and I felt very alone. And especially when I worked at like Subway, um, my employer was great, and like the people I worked with was fantastic, but the problem was the customers that would come in, and from behind, oh, a dude's working behind the counter, and then like as they're walking through, they can hear my voice because it's still dropping. They're just making like little snide comments, and I was just like, we're still gonna be nice. And then as soon as they left, I started crying, and luckily it was my last customer, so I closed up, went home, and told my wife about it, and was crying about it. And it's just a very difficult, because they're not used to it. I don't think anybody really is used to the
Yeah.
fact.
And I think that's another like really important part, that we like that interim period when we're first starting going through things. For trans guys on our site, yeah, there will be those periods. It goes a little more quickly when if you start testosterone, but seeing the way that a lot of trans women like who either or guys who don't use hormones, and then just we're that period where we're like in the beginning stages where people inside we're already struggling with that and our own changes, and then we have to deal with, especially if you're in a public facing job, like every day, you can't get away from that. And I think that's
No.
one of those like, I don't know, how did you you said you talked to your wife about it. I'm pretty sure, was she a big part of helping you through the first parts of the transition?
Yeah. She's been pretty much my rock this entire time, because I still have moments where I'm just like, oh, this is just overwhelming, and I'm scared. I'm like scared to like be me, but at the same time I don't want to like be afraid anymore. So I'm just like, hey, I need to talk to you. And she'll listen, let me vent, and then she's like, look, you got this. You're gonna be fine.
Right? Like you're already doing it, so
You're already doing it. And
yeah.
we've been together since I started transitioning. So
That's,
she's
I always have
watched.
to applaud the partners in any aspect of dealing with it, because it is our journey and it's about us, but it infects everyone around us too. And I think that's one of those things that if you have somebody going through with you together, it's that little bit that makes it just a little bit easier at the end of the day, like you said.
Yeah.
So I think that this was kind of funny, because we were chatting about this a little bit right before, about being nervous. So I kind of wanted to ask, is there anything about competing in a national pageant that makes you nervous? I feel like I already know the answer to that question, but bear with
Yeah, talking, because I stumble on my words. I do get nervous, and I'm awkward. I am very awkward, and people appreciate it because I'll host, and I'm just awkward with it. And I'm like, by the way, I'm awkward, so if you hear me or do something that's silly, like just know I'm just trying to ease myself into this.
You're like this. I'm doing the best that I can. Leave me alone.
I'm trying.
I think I just want to, next time I'm having a hard time, I have this idea now because of this. Get a shirt that just says "I'm trying" and host in that.
Oh, I should. My friends make shirts. I can ask her to make me the shirt.
I think that's a great way for that. People don't realize that it's not something that a lot of people are really good at first, and it depends on the crowd too. So you'll have one day when you're hosting with someone and it's in a group and it's wonderful, and then you can say the same things, and the next day and you're like, I'm not funny at all. It does happen. But I do agree with you. Leaning into that awkwardness. Usually when I get the microphone, I even say, they gave me this, and everything that happens from here on out is their fault. It's a little tip for you there. So I take it that means that those speaking categories might be the ones you're a little bit more afraid of.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Because unfortunately, I like to say or like a lot, and everybody points this out. It's like, you got to stop doing that. And I was like, I'm trying. I'm really trying.
And that's one of the fun parts about this is kind of a good little practice thing. You'll get to watch this, so I think that people understanding, like, why are you, I hate watching myself too, but people out there watching, they're going to see this and be like, oh, we can give you some tips, and then you can look at it, and people don't understand why we're doing it. Because I think that with pageants, we want to get to know people a little bit better as well, and really show them like, hey, these are our representatives, rather than them finding out when you compete. So,
Right.
with that said, can you tell me a little bit about yourself, like outside of performing or your transition? Like, what makes you tick? What do you do for fun? Things like that.
When I'm at home, I will play video games, or I will watch horror movies or TV shows. Like just easy things that I can sit in my couch or in my bed and just relax. I can cook a little bit, so I do try to do that as often as I can. Sometimes I'm just like, yeah, not super great at this. I don't think I'm going to do it. But I'm actually making a chicken and dumpling crock pot recipe I tweaked to my liking, and it's still cooking, but it's going to be great when it's done.
This is everyone's been talking about the things they do to relax, and a lot of people have mentioned cooking, and there's a part of me it's kind of like, well, I have to come to all these places now. Oh, and of course, I do have 3 dogs. So you said you play video games.
Mm-hmm.
Do you play Fortnite by any chance?
Sometimes it just has to be with people that I know playing, because otherwise I won't play by myself, because I'm awful. I am so bad. And I do have one friend in Des Moines who plays, and when I do have downtime, I'll be like, hey, want to play?
Well, we here love to play. We have a whole bunch of us that do. So if you want to at any point play with us, we are so welcome to do that. Because I agree. I'm sorry, I have to tell, but Fortnite is a sort of battle royale video game. It's kind of like a Call of Duty thing, except it's sillier. It's got these crazy weapons, and I'm guaranteed that the person who designs the outfits is a drag queen.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
has to be.
it's free to download. It's fun to play. But yeah, no, we are all huge nerds apparently. So I'm going to get a little bit more into a more fun question, and then maybe a hard one. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So you heard my dog. We have
Yes.
3 back here, and it's a white Yorkie Pom mix. She's kind of loud. So I don't like to ask, because people will always say, well, I would like a dog. If you could have any exotic, out there, weird pet that is not something that you would typically have in your house, what would it be?
If it could fit in my house, it would be a narwhal.
I love that.
My wife just looked at me like, really?
Come on, unicorn whales.
Unicorn whale. They're great. It started as a joke, and then it grew into this whole, I love narwhals. They're so, I don't know, I think they're adorable, and they're freeing, and they can do whatever they want. People think they're like myths or, not real, but they very much are. Yep. They are huge, and I actually have a tattoo of a narwhal.
I can definitely see that. Oh my God.
And people have gifted me narwhals, so I have some shiny ones. I have 2 giant ones that are about my height, and I'm 5'3", so
yeah, I am also 5'3", but I also want to that's one of the cuter animals too. Like, people always say it's not even real, but it looks kind of like a seal or a whale with a horn as a unicorn. If people don't know what a narwhal is, and a lot of people, if they first hear it, they think it's fake.
Yeah. And it's like, no, they very much are real. They are adorable. And like, some of the facts about them are just like, ooh, that's interesting. Like, for example, when they sleep with their tummies up in the water. So they're at the surface and their tummies are just out. So you think, they should not be alive, but they are. They're just sleeping.
That is okay. One more narwhal fact. How about that?
Oh, this is another good one.
I'll settle for a mediocre one too. No. It's okay.
They do not dance, but they do have like this cute little wiggle that they do when they're just like going towards each other. So it's like a little friend dance.
It's just like, hey, you're a narwhal. I'm a narwhal. Nice to see you. That's cool. I think my recent obsession has been it was otters for a long time, but right now I just kind of want a little hedgehog, even though you can have them. You know, just
They're
little
cute
ball.
though. Just like
Yeah. And again, we had this joke, and I'll tell you this and everyone out there, just because when you see a baby hedgehog, they look like little balls with spikes. And I said, I'll just get a bunch of them when I'm angry at them. Just people just in the face. All right, we've been kind of silly for a little bit, so let's go into one of the more, and I want to tell people too that these questions, they are posted. We don't just throw a lot of the hard ones out there for people randomly. There's a list.
Yes.
Um,
It's all
so
random at this point.
I think that this is a good one. All right, and I've asked this a lot, and I get a lot of interesting responses. So when we post stuff about the pageant, we use the phrase trans excellence a lot, and that means something different for everybody. So I wanted to ask what that meant for you specifically.
That's a good question.
Thanks.
I think like trans excellence, for me, is just like these are your good idea of representation of the possibilities of how you can transition and what your goal ultimately is at the end of it. So like this is a good example of the several different ways that you can transition to a man or to a woman, and they all have different backgrounds, and you can just kind of relate to each of these individuals because we're all different and we all have like kind of the same goal at the end is to look or be a certain way, and here's a good pick that you can go from.
That's a really cool way to put it. Like that there's a variety of options, that out there, and being able to see all the different possibilities.
Oh yeah.
And I think that's going to be really fun to see with everybody coming next year, with probably around like 40 something, like from all over the country, and seeing how many different options that people are going to have. Bam Bam.
Oh, Bam Bam.
I will edit this, I promise. But in the meantime, come here. No, there you go.
Oh, look at the pupper.
This does have to happen sometimes, but it's like the Zoom calls that you had with the toddlers. This is very much the same thing.
Yeah.
So another more kind of related to that. So we asked about you. We talked about the possibilities and different options, and I think that's a big misconception. So I wanted to ask if you wanted to say, what do you think is one of the other really big misconceptions people have about the trans community?
Oh, that's a lot though.
And there are a lot.
There are a lot. It's just picking one.
I mean, we don't even have to pick just one. We can talk about a couple. We've got.
I guess like a good one would be just like the results. Like they assume that it should all be consistent, the same. It's like, oh, you're taking all the same medications. Like, why don't you look like this? Or, why, it's like there's side effects. There's certain things that happen when you're on these, and not everybody goes through the same results. Also, not everybody can afford the medications or the surgeries. And it's not easy to get any of those things. Like I'm still struggling to get a second letter to continue mine. And
yeah, and
everybody just assumes that you can do it right away. It'll be fast. It's this, it's that. It's not. There's a whole process. It is agitating. And like I said, I'm still struggling to get my second letter. And I'm personally heartbroken over it because it was supposed to be this past week and it didn't happen because scheduling conflict. They ended up calling and canceling at the last minute. And I'm like, I'm already on my way to Iowa City and I live in Cedar Rapids. So.
Yeah. And the amount of things that people don't think, there were a lot of issues that you definitely brought up in there. One of them being that, it's just, if we are doing a medical thing, like, it's like with hormones and blockers, those things, it's like any other medication. It affects everyone differently. It's something that, and then the fact that, you know, like you take an antidepressant, for example, in a random thing, it's going to take what 6 to 8 weeks to even see any effects at all. A
Yeah.
lot of medicines are the same way, and you know, somebody may see results with facial hair within 6 months, and some other people it'd be 5 years before they see anything. You know,
Yeah.
And it's a little bit about like what you said before too, with the different possibilities and just knowing that there are different possibilities for any transition. So I think that if you had to say something to somebody just starting a medical process transition, what advice would you give?
As much as you don't want to, just be as patient as possible, because yes, it's an uphill battle, but when you finally slowly achieve each of those goals, like, you are going to be so much happier, and you're going to personally thrive because you're confident. It's confidence is just going to go through the roof. After I had my top surgery, I was ecstatic. I wanted to show everybody and anybody, and I half the time don't wear a shirt at home. So when my friends come over, or, I don't wear one because I worked hard, as you will, and you are going to have that confidence that you've always wanted.
That's those are the most amazing thing. I think it's like one of they said, you know, I paid a lot of money for somebody paid a lot of money for this chest. I'm gonna show it off.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that maybe that's an interesting question. The scars, you know, like I would like to talk about scars for a second, and I wanted to usually avoid like the physical parts of this, but it is kind of an interesting topic. A lot of
Yeah.
people don't know and will say things about people's scars and seeing them. Is it important for you to show your scars or cover them?
I will personally show them, because I'm very proud of how far I've gone, and it's just a scar. It's not I'm not going to be ashamed for being honest with everything. Like, I have not only those scars, but I have other personal scars from, like, different surgeries I've had, because I've had medical issues in the past. So that also kind of made it easier for me to just, like, show off, because it's like, it's just a scar. Like, I'm battling something and I'm winning. So
The joke that I said a few years ago was when somebody asked about them, I said I got in a fight with my gender and won.
yeah, I love that joke. I'm going to use that.
So I think that I have to find the picture of that one, but I want to like send that to everybody.
That's great.
So if you could be automatically more knowledgeable about any topic or have any skill, what would that be?
Speaking skill.
You know,
Well educated in just, like, being able to talk and not sound like a doofus.
I think I'm still working on that one too, but I understand. um, I'm trying to appease the dog. I think that another cool thing about the pageant to Trans USA is that it's increasing a lot of visibility for our community. So I wanted to ask, what does me being visible mean to you?
Being visible?
Like, how do you go about that? It doesn't even have to be I think maybe I can rephrase it, because I think that it's a weird question now that I'm
A
thinking
little
about it.
bit. A
Yeah.
little bit. Sorry.
So what does it mean for you to be out and proud as a trans person?
To be out and proud, like, as a trans person, is I enjoy it, because there are trans individuals when I go to shows, and they don't feel very seen or very heard, and to be able to walk and show that there's your representation, even if it's not exactly how you may want it to be, but it's out there. We're slowly growing. We're slowly getting out there and doing this thing and doing the best we can. And somebody I met about almost 2 years ago, when I not started, but been performing for a while, has messaged me, like, we became friends, and has asked questions about transitioning, and was just like, I feel like you're one of my idols because like there wasn't a whole lot of representation before. There wasn't, you know, a safety feeling when I went to these bars. I can feel seen and heard because you're out there doing this for me. And it's like I'm doing it for myself and for anybody that is too scared to do it. Like kind
I
of give the hope. Let me give you hope and you
Right.
can go and achieve things.
just in the importance of seeing somebody like you up there
Yeah.
and out there. You're right. It's just absolutely incredible. And I wanted to ask, was there anybody like that for you in the community?
When I first started, no. But I also didn't know like there was local drag shows until I started going out. Some friends took me to a show. I saw my first drag king for the first time ever, and I was I was over the moon. I was like, "Oh God, there's not only queens, there's kings. This is awesome!" And I reached out to him and was like, how do I go about this? Like, do I have to be a queen because I'm,
Right.
male? And it's like, no, just do what you want.
Right. Just do what you want is pretty much the best advice I could give for performance. So
Yeah.
wait. What was what was the first performance you did?
Oh,
Oh, I didn't
I
ask how it went. I just said what it was. Was that it?
it was Panic at the Disco, Hey Look, or High Hopes,
Okay.
and then it was The Middle by Jimmy Eats World.
Those are fun songs. Trust me. I have performed both of them.
Yeah, I love them. I did uh, Jimmy Eats World for Pride this past year, and I was on the main stage, and I got to do that song, and
I think
everybody loved it. It was
that's an
great.
important pride song, especially for other trans people. I feel like that's a really thing we just talked about too, like that interim period. You're in the middle. Everything's gonna be okay. Like I think
Yeah.
that's a good message. Um, Mine was Bad Boy Boogie by AC/DC, and most people don't know what that song is. So
I
it
may
was,
have heard it once, I will
yeah,
be honest.
it's a
Maybe
very old song. It was, yeah, like the 70s. But it was just a little something fun that I always wanted to do. All right. I think that this is a fun question. It's probably one of the important ones, given that we are sashing you and this is a pageant that you've been interested in running for. What does the title of Mr. Trans USA represent overall? I'm saying in your mind, not for
Oh, in my
yeah,
mind,
yeah.
kind of represents like how I see my drag dad, just like a positive atmosphere that like we can just have fun with it, and then also like raise awareness because they do charity stuff too. So it's just like being able to work with everybody and just like expand and help out as much as you possibly can.
That's again, you got the right idea, and it's. I just wanted to make sure with everyone, but no, you got the right idea with it. And I have to ask, like, we don't really require people to have any kind of platform, but if you could pick something, what would be the main issue you'd like to focus on?
Uh, Bullying. Bullying is a very big thing for me. I was bullied pretty much most of my life, like up until maybe a couple years ago when I finally like stuck up for myself and was like, I'm gonna try to do this for other people. So they do have like some like I can't remember the charity, but it does like evolve around like bullying and like how to educate people. And so I'm in the Imperial Courts of Iowa, and they focus on doing charity work by doing shows, and we donate the money. And so over the next year, as I'm preparing for this, I will also be running benefits with the Duchess, because her and I are Duke and Duchess, and we like have this whole year planned out already. Like we're gonna start as soon as the new year rolls around. We already got our first show. We're getting people ready, and
That's absolutely incredible, and I love seeing how many people are picking charities to work and represent in our system as well. And if people, like I said, I may not know this out there, our system has kind of incorporated an Outstanding Advocate Award and little prize that is for not necessarily any money raised, but it's just who's done, I think, the most effective work with the charity they're representing. And we have people representing charities from all over. So if you want to use that as part of this as well, we can totally make that your focus on there.
I would appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah, no worries. So as we are coming to the end, it's the question I've kind of been asking everybody to kind of close out. We talk about a lot of things we want to do and focus on, the platform issue I just mentioned with competing for pageants and any of the work we do. But a lot of times we don't really talk about the personal side of it. And I have to ask, what is it that you personally want to get out of the experience?
I want to have fun with it. Like I saw some of the pictures, and I did speak to a few people that were in it last year, like Abigail, and she said she had a blast, and she was like pretty much like inspired like by everybody, and how everybody just came together and was just like, click, we're all good friends. Like,
and
like
yeah,
that sounds like fun.
That's honestly, you know, it doesn't have to be a crazy long answer. That, like, yes, just to have fun and to be with a group of other people. That's 40. Like, how often do you get 40 or more trans people from around the country together to just, you know, I think the pictures were you talk about the hot tub parties. That
Yeah,
sounds so horrible when I say it out loud, but it was really just like a pool party.
it was a full party, and
And
everybody's smiling, everybody's just like laughing, and I'm just like, oh, I want to do this.
yeah,
Like,
and,
I
like,
thought about doing it last year too, but then I was like too scared, and so I was like, I don't think I can. And then I was just like, saw those, I'm like, ah.
right. So now, like, you got through that process. So one more question: if you had, now that you were scared and you come onto this other side and realize it's not as scary, what would you say if somebody else is thinking about it and might be scared?
Oh, just do it. As scary as if it scares you, you probably should jump feet first. Do it. Like,
You wanna put that dish in your mouth?
hi, I am Rory Phoenix Monroe. I am running for Mr. Trans USA, and I am your current reigning Mr. Trans Iowa 2023. I joined the system to be surrounded by like-minded people and to support everybody who has supported me throughout the years, all of which who are currently in or surrounding the system. What I currently do for the community is do fundraisers for CAAP CAP, and also help out as much as I possibly can with the Imperial Courts of Iowa in the current reigning 30. I was also a part of the Imperial Courts of 29, Imperial Courts of Iowa 29, and have continued to do fundraisers and help out the community as best as I possibly can, whether it be fundraising, communicating and helping other people out with finding doctors that they possibly need for healthcare reasons or for therapy, or they can just rant and vent to me, and I'm more than willing and happy to help them however I possibly can with as much knowledge as I currently have. I'm always willing to learn more, and I'm excited to see how this next year turns out. Thank you.
Yeah, you wanna put that dish in your mouth?